I think that's why so many of them say there's so many toss-up states, because they're terrified of actually taking a stand. But they've been doing this for a long time. The Scottish referendum was too close to call. Guess what? No, it wasn't. The Greek referendum was too close to call. Guess what? No, it wasn't. They're
Are the polls
terrified.
not good then?
I just think, you can do so
Are they not reliable?
You can do so many things. You can weight things in a different way. And they are terrified of making a huge mistake. And so they come up with too close to call.
When it comes to the last election, since we're talking about that, Steve, was there this disparity between what people think on the political side versus how they feel about the economy?
You had some of that, and we also asked this. We found 16% of the public has concern about Donald Trump's temperament, but like what he's doing with the economy. And a chunk of those are Democrats, a chunk of Republicans. I know our producer, Sandy Cannell, does not want us to have a discussion about the polls, a geeky discussion. But let me stand up for my brethren in the polling business and point out that a lot of the polls in the last week nationally were pretty darn close. Hillary did win the popular election. I do not believe polls, pardon me, can account for the electoral college split. That's one issue. Some of these other things you're talking about, the 80% is an extrapolation off of the polls themselves. So, and it's even harder now, because if you think about back in 2016, they were solving for a binary, Clinton or Trump. Now they're solving for, I don't know what the X degree of exponential is of 500 seats in Congress and the Senate. It's almost impossible. All you can do is do what I just did. Take the generic, and the pieces are going to fall where they may.
Why hasn't this campaign been more about the economy?
I think that's a very interesting question, and I wondered. I mean, you see these reports that Paul Ryan called up Trump and said, please, please talk about the economy. And if you read the New York Times over the weekend, there were several op-eds like, thank God he's not running on the record of the economy, because, he might really. And here's the thing. I mean, who's been smartest about really getting the vote out and driving an election? It's been Donald Trump. Yeah. He's chosen to focus on other things like immigration, the caravan, et cetera, instead of the economy. And we all think, oh, that's not so smart. I don't know. We haven't been all that smart through this whole, right? That's the conventional wisdom.
I have two theories. First one is the tax cut does not poll well. People tend to think it was something that benefited the wealthy and corporations, and do not report seeing it show up in their pockets. I think that's one thing. I think the other thing is, I heard someone mention this morning, and it's a decent explanation, I'll go with it, that when something's working the way it ought to be working, nobody gives anybody credit for it. It's when things are going badly. Look, I don't want to ever doubt Donald Trump's political instincts. He felt he needed something else other than the economy to win this election. He was fighting an uphill battle. He's still fighting an uphill battle. He decided he needed immigration, that the economy was not enough.
That was going to energize his base or the GOP voters.
The economy is doing more than just working. I mean, it's working pretty well.
Really well. I
mean, the talking point of the great jobs report that we had last week, that has not really come up at all these rallies. I mean, it's just mind-blowing to me that that's not something that is touted. The 28% return in the stock market since he was elected, which is the greatest since Eisenhower, that has not really been a talking point either. Do these things not poll well? That you guys out there, you all have jobs,
they poll extraordinarily well, and it's why we wrote, when our poll came out about a month ago, that we think there's not this idea of a blue wave because of the economics of it. It's very hard in the absence of a recession to have, I think, a wave election.
Are you earning more? Is your 401k bigger? Are you feeling more secure in your job?
And those are yes, and yes,
and it's yes and yes, and so there's a lot of argument that says, well, you don't change horses in midstream if it's going that way, and yet the consensus is that the Congress is going to flip.